never seem to keep your cool. You're just drowning in the deep end of the pool. Win or lose. Like something's breaking through. We do crazy things with nothing left to lose. Everything's stopped and no one knows what to do. Everything happens least when you expect it to. It's just a shout in the dark. You know, you know, you know. Can't stay where you are. Shoot from the heart. You know, you know, you know. Already this far, and you've been scared of letting go, afraid to even start. Reach for the stars with all that you are. Oh, oh. It's just a shout in the dark. Just a shout in the dark. It's just a shout in the dark. You know, you know, you know. You can't stay where you are. Shoot from the heart. You know, you know, you know. You're already so far, and you've been scared of letting go, afraid to even start. Reach for the stars. It's just a shout in the dark. Are you that demon inside of me? Trying so hard to be set free. When you want to get out, you haunt my dreams, holding me captive in my own sleep. When you want to get out, you haunt my dreams, holding me captive in my own sleep.
Can't hear that. Okay, that was really loud. Better. Can you guys hear? And everybody drop in the chat if you can hear me. Beautiful. Yay! I was just saying before this, I love flexibility. Flexibility loves me, and here we are being flexible. So we'll celebrate. Welcome. Let me start over here. And I saw you guys are tuning in from all over the world. Welcome to the February training. We're so excited to have you here. I'm so excited to be here with you, talking about one of my most favorite subjects and favorite things to coach on, which is intimate relationships. I actually just got back from a wedding in Mexico. I have 4 clients tying the knot this year. So it's been a beautiful year of love. And this last weekend, I was in Mexico celebrating with a client who I've coached for 5 years through the whole process, through ending a relationship that wasn't fulfilling, to dating, to then meeting this beautiful woman that he's committed his life to. So again, before we start, drop in the chat. Are you single or are you in a committed relationship right now? Drop it in the chat. Are you single or are you in a committed relationship? Because no matter what, this relationship applies to you either way. And let me know, answer this question. Did you guys all watch the video with Tony and Sage coaching Steve? Who watched that? Oh, look, we got a lot of singles in here. Yes, we got some marrieds. Love it. Did you guys all watch the video with Sage and Tony? They were coaching Steve. They gave him some great insights. He was having trouble with the dating process. He was saying he was on the dating apps, he was going to church, and he was meeting all these people, but he wasn't meeting someone who was aligned. And what Tony and Sage see is that he was making judgments and giving things, and he needed to give more time. So he was making judgments too soon, and he needed to give things more time. And they shared with their own relationship how when they first met, they were so different from each other. And if they had not given it the time, then they would have missed out on the best part of their life, or the best thing in their lives. Tell me in the chat, how many of you guys resonated with Steve's story about dating? How many of you guys got a new perspective from Tony and Sage after they gave him coaching? The truth is, relationships can be the most impactful thing in our lives, and often are. So if we have one and it's going great, then everything's great, right? And if we have one and it's not, it can make the rest of our lives feel heavy and challenging. And, you know, Tony says relationships magnify the human experience, and they hold up mirrors for us. They hold up mirrors for where we need to grow within ourselves. Now, most people don't see it, but you guys here at Inner Circle are not most people, are you? You guys are here and you're doing the work and you're showing up for yourselves and you're keeping it real with yourselves. So tell me, what do you guys think can get in the way of having an extraordinary intimate relationship? What do you guys think can get in the way of that? Now, you're probably already aware, we all have unique ways that we see the world. And Tony refers to that as our model of the world. And this causes us to filter our experiences based on that model. That model is created through our life experiences, through our upbringing, through our external environment, and even through our culture. And how we view the world can either expand us or it can limit us, both in our lives and in our relationships. So our limiting beliefs are one of the things that can stand in the way of us finding and creating a beautiful, loving relationship, whether it's a new one or an existing one. So let's unpack this. What are some of the common limiting beliefs that we have? If you're single, all the good ones are taken. I can't seem to meet anyone. Dating apps suck. I've actually said that one before. I connect and things seem to be going great in the beginning and then everything falls apart. Those might be some limiting beliefs if you're single. Drop in the chat, what are some of your limiting beliefs? And if you're in a relationship, your limiting beliefs might be, well, the problem is them. Or I've tried everything to shift this relationship and it never changes. Or we're just different people. We've grown apart. There is no hope. These are all some limiting beliefs, right? And the truth is, they're just beliefs and we can change them. I have one personal. I was just talking to a friend about relationships the other day, and I was like, I think I'm a good partner. But I can't seem to find a relationship that lasts. So maybe I'm not, because if I was, then I had to find a relationship that lasts. And then as I'm saying it, I know it's BS or a limiting belief system. I know it's BS. And I'm like seeing it come like these words come out of my mouth in slow motion. I'm trying to catch them and shove them back in because I know that they're not true. And I also don't believe that if a relationship doesn't last, that it's a failure, because as Tony says, there's no failure, there's only learning, like our tech. So what's the truth? There's so many variables in whether or not a relationship. Oh, I like these. Dating is exhausting. I'm going to read some of yours actually. Dating is exhausting. We both need to give 100%. I've only I feel content, but it's a lonely process. Yeah, there's a lot of things but the thing is, like, there's so many variables to whether or not a relationship is going to last when you find one. It could be timing. It could be proximity. It could be readiness. It could be free will. And just because we show up as our best and a relationship doesn't work out, if those things aren't in place, then it's not going to work. If the timing isn't right, it doesn't matter how you show up. If the person isn't ready, it doesn't matter how you show up. So as I am unpacking these limiting beliefs, I started to get curious, because sometimes in life we really have to get curious versus judgmental, especially with ourselves, because it's so easy to judge. And the secret to getting out of judgment is to get curious and start asking yourself questions. So I started to think about all these people that I know, these clients that I have coached that are getting married, and my close friends who I've seen go from being single to being happy, fulfilling relationships. And I asked myself, well, what are the common threads? What are they doing that's feeding their success, or what did they do? And I noticed a couple of things that stood out. So I'm going to ask you, do you want the answer to that? Yes or yes? Yeah. Well, if you want that answer, you got to give me some energy. How's everyone doing? Let's get some energy. Yes. All right. So the first one is accountability, and you want to write these down. The second one is intentionality. And what do I mean by that? I mean that every single one of those people take full responsibility for their experience in the relationship. They're growth oriented. And then they were all very intentional with not only what they wanted from the relationship, but also what they wanted to contribute to the relationship. So here's how we're going to apply all that today. We're going to do a workshop, and we're going to do 3 things first. We're going to discover the 2 non-negotiable traits behind every relationship that thrives. We're going to create a compelling vision for an unstoppable partnership like Tony and Sage. And we're going to see what that looks like for you today. And then we're going to complete a workshop and identify the 3 master steps to attract and deepen your ultimate ideal relationship. And I'm going to give you a hint. It starts with you. So who's excited about that? Drop in the chat if you're excited about that. Beautiful. Now, there's a few things before we get started, and this might sound very familiar to some of you if you've been on these trainings before. We have what we call our rules of engagement. So there's 3 things that are going to help you to get the most out of today's training. The first one is active learning. That looks like privacy. Make sure you're in privacy. Make sure you have a notebook and you're taking notes. You want to make sure that you have your phone on silent, eliminate all distractions, and be present in the moment. We've got another 35, 40 minutes together, and just be present, because that's how you're going to get the most out of it. Second one is playful out. You want to support each other. That means what you're already doing. So many of you are dropping messages in the chat when I ask questions. Support each other in the chat. Take notes like you're going to teach it, because hopefully you are. And then again, participating in the exercises, because if you're not going to play full out, then why be here, right? And then the third one is keeping it real. This is keeping it real with yourself. This is really important, because this exercise is an opportunity to take your life to the next level. And in order to get the most out of it, you must, in all caps, keep it real. You have to keep it real. Now think of it as giving yourself feedback. We say feedback is a gift because it gives you the opportunity to grow. Can you guys give yourself the gift of growth today by keeping it real with yourselves. Now, remember, it's not about what you're doing wrong, because we can often make ourselves wrong for not being where we want to be. And as you know, where focus goes, what? Energy flows, right? And so we want to stay energy rich. So focusing on what needs to happen to close the gap is going to be moving you. It's going to be a more empowering focus, and it's going to keep you in that forward momentum. And the better that you get at giving yourself feedback, the better you're going to be at showing up for others and achieving your goals. So how many of you guys can agree on these rules of engagement? Drop in the chat if you're committed to these rules of engagement. And if you've heard this before, just remember, these are the habits that we're trying to build. And as Tony says, repetition is what? The mother of what? Skill. That's right. So that's the repetition here. Now that you guys have agreed on the rules of engagement, we want to go and check on your state. How's everyone feeling today? How's everyone feeling? Yes. Beautiful. For those of you that have been to an event, you know that Tony always starts day one with state and energy. Why do you think that is? Because state is everything. And if we're not in an empowered state, it really doesn't matter what we do, does it? So tell me in the chat, drop in the chat, what state are you committed to bringing to today's training? What state are you committed to bringing? Maybe it's curiosity, maybe it's excitement, maybe it's open-mindedness, maybe it's presence. Drop in the chat what you're a peak state, momentum. Awesome, beautiful, excited, good, wonderful. Great job, everyone. The truth is, successful relationships begin with us. And the beautiful opportunity in relationships is that as I said before, they hold a mirror up to us, and they give us the opportunity to grow in ways that really aren't possible alone. And to be honest, you don't have to be in a relationship to start this work. You can do it. If you're not in a relationship, you can consider this part of your journey the preparation phase. So the more inner work that we do on ourselves, the healthier that we become individually, and the more likely we are to have healthier relationships. Do you remember what I said those common qualities were with my clients and friends? Do you remember those 2 words? Write them down: accountability and intentionality. Accountability and intentionality. Accountability is about radical responsibility for our experience in a relationship. In fact, write that down. Accountability is about radical responsibility for our experience in a relationship. It's really about owning our own part in what we're bringing to a relationship. It's not about expecting the other person to adapt to you, which is what a lot of people do, isn't it? Radical responsibility requires you to actually really know yourself and your own patterns, and really to understand what your own limiting beliefs and judgments are. And that requires radical honesty. Most people, and as we have already defined, you guys being here in Inner Circle aren't most people, tend to blame the other person in a relationship for the problems. That's really more commonplace. Question: have you ever met someone and gotten into a relationship and everything's great, and then they changed and you're like, what is wrong with you? Why are you not the same person anymore? Has that ever happened to you? Yeah. And you know what? The chances are you changed too. Because in the beginning of a relationship, we've heard this story. You're in the honeymoon phase, you have all those happy hormones, and then you get to a point where the happy hormones wear off, the law of familiarity kicks in, and all those things that you overlooked in the beginning of the relationship don't look as cute, do they? And then it becomes a them thing. What's wrong with them? And you begin to judge them. And you definitely probably aren't looking at your own part, or weren't looking at your own part. And then the relationship started to fall apart, and you thought, why does this always happen? Or this is how it always goes. So when I have a client who's tail spinning in a relationship like that over a quality that they feel unhappy about, I always ask the question, well, did he or she always have this quality? And what do you think the answer is 9 times out of 10? The answer is yes, 9 times out of 10. And the work that I do with my clients is around the judgment. It's around the judgment or the triggers. Judgment and triggers are fear-based responses. They're fear-based responses, and they're never about the other person. And this is true in intimate relationships as well as other relationships. It's really about our own shite or our own rules that we have that we've made up to quote unquote keep us safe. And they cause us to forget the humanness in our partner. And when we forget the humanness in our partner, we lose compassion. And when we have that judgment or trigger, it's really our personal responsibility to get curious with it. It's our responsibility, not theirs. So you can actually consider a trigger or a judgment as a guide that are leading you to figure out, well, what's really underneath that. And, you know, one thing I wanted to mention in this area, if you've ever listened to The Ultimate Edge, Tony teaches in, I think it's day 5, Get the Edge, Power of Emotions. And in there, he talks about emotions being guides or messages. And the same is true for your judgments. So when you get when you have a judgment or you have a trigger, you want to ask yourself, you want to recognize it, because the first step is recognizing it. And then ask yourself some questions. Where is this coming from? Is it really true? Or what am I afraid of? Or I like this question, whose voice is this? Because a lot of times it's not even our own voice that's talking to us in these situations. And it's also usually a place that you're going to find that needs healing. And again, most people won't do this, and that's why most people don't have the relationships that they desire. And this level of honesty that you have with yourself and curiosity, it's a process. This is a process. I've been doing this for years. And when you do, it's, first of all, it takes consciousness. It takes awareness and consciousness. And it also takes grace, giving yourself grace. You want to treat yourself in the process as you're unpacking these judgments and these triggers like someone you love. The truth is that choosing to heal yourself and to face your limiting beliefs is the most self-loving thing that you can do. And it really is a portal to even more fulfillment in every area of your life. And let's face it, how we do one thing is how we do everything. So if a trigger is happening in your intimate relationship, it's probably happening in other areas of your life too. All right, so we talked about accountability. Now let's jump into the other quality, intentionality. We know that whatever we're intentional about, we get better results, right? We can agree on that. Now, we know that Tony builds whole programs around this, like his rapid planning method program. And if you're not intentional, you might accidentally be living in your blind spots. And you might get stuck in patterns in your relationships. Or you might be a serial dater because you can never seem to find the one. But that's not how we roll here in Inner Circle, is it? That's right. As I said before, the people I know that have the most successful relationships were intentional with their vision. They were clear on what they wanted. They were clear on what they didn't want. They consistently worked on themselves, and they were unapologetic about holding on to those standards and not settling, because they know that settling is more of a scarcity mindset. And like Tony shared in the video, they also gave potential connections time. Because sometimes if we don't give things time, we don't know. Time is our friend. And so let that sink in. And how many of you guys first of all, what are 2 things that can kill relationships? 2 things that can kill relationships: love scarcity and settling, and pulling the ripcord too soon. And that's where this work on self-awareness and personal growth is so powerful. And you also, I want to go back to the vision to summarize the intention and holding standards. It's like Tony says, you have to believe that it's available. You have to believe that you'll find it. And you have to believe that it'll be worth it. And you also have to believe one more thing, and that's that you are worthy of it. You have to believe that you are worthy of it. And you are, because you exist. And if you doubt that, know that the more you heal, the more you believe that truth. You are worthy of the relationship that you want. So how many of you guys are up for creating a beautiful relationship vision? How many of you guys are up for that? Yes? All right, so let's begin with getting you guys into the present moment, into that state of feeling that vision. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put our pens down and we're going to close our eyes and we're just going to take a moment to connect with that beautiful vision. Maybe you already have one. Maybe you've been to an event, a date with destiny, or you've done the ultimate relationship program. You already have a vision. And if you do, that's great. You can revisit that vision and build on it. But let's close our eyes and take a moment. I'm going to take a sip of water. And imagine yourself in that most fulfilling relationship. Really feel what it feels like to be in that ultimate, beautiful, fulfilling relationship. Notice how you feel in your body. Notice how you're breathing. Notice what you're focusing on. Notice what your internal dialogue is. What is that person like? What is your relationship like? What do you do on a daily basis? How do you guys spend your time together? Really feel that. What emotions do you experience on a daily basis in your ideal partner, with your ideal relationship? How do you communicate? How do you show up for each other? Really feel that. Feel it in your body. Breathe, take a deep breath. Release. And feel him, her. Feel them next to you. Experience it. And now you're going to open your eyes. And we're going to jump into our clarity process. This is where we're going to get clarity on who that person is. We're going to get even more clarity. We're going to write it down. Now, remember, the ability to self-evaluate and create a vision are the most powerful tools in creating a positive change and to having a fulfilling life that you love. And that begins with owning where you currently are. And that's both strengths and soft spots. And then identifying where you want to be. And then what has to happen to close the gap. And that's what we're going to do today with this workshop. Now, I know you're already amazing at this, so it's going to feel very familiar. We're going to go through a series of questions. I'm going to give you guys time to journal for each of these slides. The first one is, does everyone have their pen and paper? Yes? Great. Now, the first thing we're going to look at is, what do you want in a partner? What do you want in a partner? And as we went through that vision, it was, how do you spend your time together? What do you do? How do you show up for each other? How do you communicate? How do you create intimacy or share and show love? And I like to say, when you're doing this exercise, you could look at what's worked in the past too. It could be what's worked in the past, even if it's a relationship that didn't last. What are some of those qualities? Drop in the chat if you want to share some of those, because we can share with each other. like this. Honesty. What else? Playfulness. Communicate openly and freely. Oh, Mary says she did this 20 years ago and she met her partner 3 days later. Open communication, joyful, fun, and intimacy. Dancing. I love that. Douglas, me too. Hunger for personal development. Beautiful. Vulnerability. You guys are doing amazing. Great job. Down to earth, fun. Committed Christian. Trust. Honesty, presence, athletic. I love that you're sharing because this can help each other. Maybe there's something you didn't think of that one of your group members here is sharing. Feel free to borrow from each other. Being there for her in ways that matter because they matter to me. Gorgeous. Warmth, acceptance. Camping. That's fun. Open and honest communication. Radical self-awareness. Protector, provider, kind, and generous. Know their love language. These are amazing. Great listener. Beach walks. Ooh, someone's a romantic, Jose. Open and loving. Integrated missions. Adventurous. Going to Tony events together. I like that one. Spiritual. Skydiving. Ron. That's cool. Goal driven. Someone that laughs. In good shape exercises. Openness and vulnerability. Scuba diving. Cool. Forgiving. Passionate. Shares the same mission. You guys are crushing it. I'm loving this. How does it feel to focus on this and to focus on what you want and to create this beautiful vision? Joy, because if you're going to survive through struggles, you need to be with someone who makes you happy. Yes, sir. And we have to find that happiness within ourselves as well. Beautiful. Take another minute. Keep writing. And if you're done, look at that list and circle your musts. Circle your absolute musts. Because all of them don't need to be musts. Some of them would be nice. What are your musts? What are your musts on there? All right, let's go to the next question. So now that we've gone through what we want, now we want to focus on what do we not want? What do we not want? And have you ever heard Tony talk about the mate from hell? This could be in your own life, a past relationship, or just your absolute no's, your deal breakers. And this part's really powerful because we often know what we don't want. And it helps us if we feel stuck with what we do want. You guys did such a great job on figuring out what you do want and expressing what you do want. And we all have deal breakers. So our questions are, what are your deal breakers? What qualities or behaviors in a partner are no-goes or deal breakers for you? What relationship dynamics have you guys experienced in the past or witnessed? Maybe you didn't experience it, you just witnessed it, that you know you don't want to repeat, or you know you don't want to experience yourself. Or what communication patterns or lack of communication? That's a big one. I saw a lot of people in the chat mention communication, and that's a must to a successful relationship. So what patterns create tension or a disconnection for you in relationships? And what qualities do you want to avoid in terms of communication? All right, let's go. Think of this as they're already in here. You guys are already dropping stuff in the chat here. Manipulates, addictions, lying. It could be, yeah, dishonest. Could be disrespect, name calling, shutting down. Sometimes it's just not being growth oriented at all, just staying in the status quo. Negativity, yelling. I see a lot of lying in here. Cheating, yeah. Infidelity, not so good. Narcissism is a one in here a lot too. Closed-minded. Sometimes that's like a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. You guys are doing amazing. Unstable financially, selfishness, energy drainer, controlling. You guys can borrow. Remember to borrow from each other. There might be some things here you don't think of yourself. No boundaries with other women, not looking after health. Selfishness, that's a common one here. Needing others' validation. Doesn't like animals. Yeah. Dr. Hara. Anxiety, victim mentality. Couch potato. Christina, I like your emoji there. Or eating habits, not active. This is great. Controller always has to be right. Smoker. Not accepting me as I am. Long right. Can you guys hear me? Thank you so much for your flexibility. It's a fun day. And you know what? Actually, that's our lesson here, because it's perfect that it's a relationship program and a relationship training today. And we're learning how to be flexible, aren't we? And that's another important quality in being in a relationship. I do want to honor one of the comments. I was reading the comments while the sound was off, and Athena, I love your honesty. Beautiful. Owning that that you need to grow yourself, and honor and really facing those things about you that you brought to relationships in the past. Congratulations for that radical honesty. So our next questions we have, so we went through what you don't want, and what you want to do with those is circle the absolutely no's, and make sure that you get clarity on that. And then we're going to go into our next set of questions. So our next set of questions, now that we know what we want, and now that we know what we don't want, we have to focus on who we need to be, because that's really what's important, is who we need to be to attract that. So we got clarity on what we want, what we don't want. Now, who do we need to be in order to attract or even create that ideal relationship that you're already in? I love this question, because I started thinking about this, what is it that I'm bringing to a relationship that I feel is my superpower? And so think about that. What is your superpower in relationships? Maybe it's your level of compassion. Maybe it's your open-mindedness and acceptance. What is it that you're bringing to a relationship that this is my superpower in relationships? And then what do you need to shift, and where do you need to grow? And in that process, what are some beliefs that you need to adopt? Because remember, it's really all about our beliefs, isn't it? And so what beliefs do you need to adopt to attract this, or to create this relationship vision? And then the other question I have for you is, once we've completed this, think about how this is going to change your life and your relationship forever. All right, take some time to write those down. Athena, you're so beautifully vulnerable and amazing, and I'm seeing you. You said you're crying doing this because deep down you do want love. We all want love. We all want love. And the fact that you're facing what is challenging you in that is your power. Do we have music? Okay. Look at this. I'm loving, forgiving, and a good listener. I'm spiritual and interesting. No, let's see. You're listening. You listen well. I love what you said. The question comes from a place of scarcity, because we think we're not good enough yet, and that actually is true, and that's the power of doing this work, Chris. Is that, it's crisis. I don't know what your name is, but that's the power of doing this work. Is it really is about healing your stuff internally and asking these questions and getting curious. That's how you find your worthiness, is through healing. Patient. So some qualities you're bringing: you're a superpower, love out loud, open-minded, growth mindset, willing to change and grow. Beautiful job, everyone. You're fun and spontaneous, and you love hard. It's just the music's loud, but I'm gonna lower it. Be myself. Honest, good listener, empathetic, energetic, looks for the good in people and situations, a good listener. Superpower, patient, and love to learn. Beautiful. Devotion. You guys are doing an incredible job. Love this. More courage to tell the truth. You learn that by just doing it. Lean into the uncertainty of telling the truth. And that's how you build the muscle. Being more open to love in my life, interested. You guys are so beautiful. I love your vulnerability. Thank you so much for bringing your vulnerability to this training, and that you're giving that gift to everybody else that's on this training with you. All right. So now you have some clarity. You have clarity on what you want. You have clarity on what you don't want. And you have clarity on your superpowers in a relationship and where you need to grow personally. And I just want you guys to take a moment to acknowledge yourselves for showing up today and for doing this deep work. It's not easy, but it's always worth it. And, for you being willing to grow. Remember that growth in relationships, whether you're in one or not, begins with the growth within yourself. And today, you guys all took a step forward, and that's something to celebrate. So what's next step? You want to choose one key insight from today that you're going to actively apply in your intimate relationship moving forward. And if you're not in a relationship right now, what are you going to do to move toward attracting that ideal partner that you have in mind? Drop in the chat for accountability, because we know that making a public declaration you're more likely to take action on. And remember that small shifts create big changes. Over the next few days, start noticing where you're already showing up powerfully in relationships, or where you already have shown up powerfully, whether it's in the way you communicate, how you hold boundaries. It could be how you express your love. And because the more you recognize what's working, the more you're going to reinforce those patterns. And just like in any relationship in this journey, you're going to find what you're looking for. So seek out the good, both in you and your partner. And instead of focusing on what's missing, focus on what's growing. So what's missing versus what's growing. Remember that love at its core is about presence. Whether you're seeking a partner or deepening a current relationship, the greatest gift that you can offer is your full, authentic self. You're worthy of extraordinary love. And it begins with believing that fully. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to serve you today, for your flexibility, for your vulnerability. I can't wait to hear from you guys in Inner Circle on how your relationships are going and how this vision is working for you. Have a beautiful week. Bye, everyone.